say this: just watching him throw, seems like he's got good
bothered, huh?
He's got a good throwing motion. He looks like he
tips on the bandwagon.
He looks like a white Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to do some pretty good stuff. I'm telling you, I like it.
Too inconsistent.
Him and Anthony Richardson are in the same boat.
So what's going to happen with what's his face that they got last year? They going to trade him because he was wasn't he a first round or a second round pick?
I don't think he makes the roster, man.
As a second rounder last year,
is he that bad? I mean, I didn't really watch any Titans.
He was third.
They just didn't give him an opportunity to throw a lot. It was mostly just handed off to Derrick Henry, and then they had some design runs for him.
Have I ever told you guys what a gigantic hockey fan I am?
Huge.
I could watch hockey over basketball.
You need to watch it, dude. Florida Panthers, 8 seed, making a run. Conference finals start Thursday night.
You watch hockey with people up north. It's bigger than football, dude. It's crazy.
I know. That's why it has to be very, very frustrating for the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh my gosh. If I was a Bruins fan, talking about the best regular season of all time.
It was,
and they lose.
And they lost.
First,
and they were
first round, didn't they?
Yeah, the Panthers.
Panthers, yeah.
And they were up 3-1, and they were
That's
up.
two.
They were up.
No.
Yes.
Milwaukee.
Yes. 2 1 seeds lost to the Miami teams.
Yeah. I was to say Milwaukee was number 1, right?
Yeah. And they were up, I think 2-0 in Game 7, and the Panthers scored on an empty net with 20 seconds left, and then scored in overtime.
Let me ask you this: I know nothing about basketball whatsoever, but if the Heat are to somehow beat the Celtics and then go and they play LeBron James and they beat LeBron James, is Jimmy Butler go down as one of the top basketball players of all time?
He's already MVP of this playoffs. That's just my opinion.
I said of all time, though. Is he going to be in the top 10 of all time?
No, but this will be the best playoff run probably of all time by one.
Was that the hardest thing to see, Murph? Is LeBron James beating the Golden State Warriors?
No, we have no depth this year, and then the whole Draymond punching Jordan Poole I'm with him, honestly. I think I'm starting to understand why he punched him in the face in training camp, but
it was kind of a matchup, Mitch.
Yeah, the
Lakers bad matchup, no depth, and they just ran out of gas.
You've been talking Lakers Monstars, Jess. The Lakers look like it.
They do.
They're old school big.
They're finally starting to click a little bit.
Denver. So Denver's is too,
big.
Right? I haven't really kept up with him.
Well, Jokic is big. Jokic is big, and I mean he's about the most unathletic NBA player I've ever seen. But he doesn't even leave the ground, and he shoots off one leg, falling down. I mean, he's never done a push-up in his life.
Remember Marc Gasol with the
flabby arms
with the Grizzlies? He kind of played the same way.
Yeah.
But it worked. He had a good jumper.
Yeah. Well, should we get to it? Y'all ready?
Sorry about that. I forgot we're live.
Yeah, Jeff, you just tell me when to go, partner.
All right. Go when you're ready.
Welcome into the #1 Group of 5 football podcast in the world. We are the Group of 5 guys. Our mission, our goal is to bring the hype and recognition and pride to the Group of 5 football programs that the mainstream sports media will not do. We need your help doing that. We need you to go on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Give us a follow, comment on our stuff, get some interactions going. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave a review, tell your family and friends about us. Or you can go to group5guys.com and get some swag. By the way, got some new swag coming soon. We'll keep you updated on that. On this episode tonight, we're talking Position U on the offensive end. Which Group of 5 programs produce the best players at each position? Here comes the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
Lee Corso is a guy who had a retirement party 10 years ago, and yet he still won't leave the office.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. That's incredible.
That's
the wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of 5.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy, did he. 3 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
I really appreciate you do for the Group of 5 programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of 5 because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
I appreciate what you guys do, truthfully, covering the Group of 5. Y'all said it earlier, but the Sun Belt to me is college football.
Guys, Matt Ariza, punt god, goes to the Bills. Bills dump him because of an accusation, which, as of last week, turns out to be a false accusation. Guy was stoned at the stake, put on a cross, if you will, cut from the Bills roster. And now, turns out, guy wasn't even there. Wasn't even on the property. Now, I am certainly not here to throw accusations at the alleged victim's way, because I don't know. But this is what happens in our media. And I hate to say it, our sports media is 100 times worse. You destroy someone off of hearsay, essentially, from one person. And then we don't let the legal process go. We don't have any information at all other than an accusation, and we just destroy the guy. I mean, I'm seeing Stephen A. Smith talking about, throwing the word rape around, like really just absolutely destroying this man's character. And fortunately, he's young enough that he's probably going to get another shot. But man, I mean, this is what we get. This is our country, our society as a whole, though, isn't it? We see a 5-second video clip. We hear one person accuse somebody of one thing, and we just jump to a conclusion. We pick a freaking side, and we ride for that side no matter what. We don't care what other facts come out. We don't care about anything at all. But man, thank God, he was, I guess, rectified, early enough. I mean, and it didn't drag on and drag on and drag on. But I mean, you gotta let the courts do their thing. I mean, I hate to say it, you do.
Yeah, and as unpopular as that is in this day and age, unfortunately, the court of public opinion is what most of the society and especially the sports media goes by. And I call it the Amazon Prime generation is what we're going through right now. Everybody wants it now. They need whatever they want, whether it's a decision, whether it's, in my case, a sandwich. Like everybody wants it right now when they need it, and that's all that matters. And especially when you get into a situation like this where those are heavy accusations. It's a very serious situation what happened to that young woman. And I just think the best thing to do is just pause, especially when you're in the media, and you got to let information come out because everybody wants to be first nowadays in the media. Mm-hmm. They don't care about being accurate, and they don't care about what happens to the people that they slander, essentially. That all they care, they want the clicks, they want to be first, and unfortunately they know that the news cycle in today's day and age it's barely 24 hours, depending on the severity of the story. So they're like, I'm just going to wrongfully accuse this guy. I don't really have all my ducks in a row, all my facts, but if I'm wrong, they'll forget that I even accused this person in 24 hours. And it's just a shame. I hope he gets another opportunity because he deserves it. He deserves an apology from all the people in the media that called him all these names and slandered his character, but it's just an unfortunate situation, but I'm glad that he did get cleared of the wrong accusation.
Were you gonna say something, Jess?
No.
Okay. And the thing is, Murph, too, you're exactly right. Like, none of these people that had everything to say, when the accusations came up, none of that, well, I should say very few have come out, at least not on the air,
Yeah.
and said anything. Now, a couple people have tweeted, their support for the guy, but nobody's gotten up on First Take or PTI or any of these things and apologized for their take. And, the other thing, too, is the media is going to do media things. And when is an organization going to just stand their ground and just come out and say, I mean, I know that they get pressured so much they got to make a move because the fans, and they don't want the fan backlash. But at the same time, in the same season, you have the freaking Browns signed Deshaun Watson after
That's what I was going to say.
multiple accusations, not one accusation, 40-something. But go ahead. Sorry, Jess.
No, that's what I was going to say, but I figured I'd keep my mouth shut so I don't say anything. I'm going to regret. But yeah, you just said it. Well, and then I'm just curious if this young man, which Jeff, like you said, this is a serious deal for that young woman. But if this guy literally just lost potentially money that could change his life forever, I mean, surely to God, there's going to be some kind of lawsuit for the slandering of his name. Maybe not by her, but like by the media. Like the media just taking this to another level where, how much money did he miss out on if he doesn't get that opportunity? And God forbid, hell, he may not can punt the ball right now. He may be out of practice. He might have been working on something else for the past year instead of kicking a football, So his life has probably been forever changed over something that potentially could have been avoided.
Wasn't even there. That's the crazy.
He wasn't even there. I was in bed,
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I wonder how. I mean, I wish they had the court hearings or something for us to see. They probably do somewhere just to see I don't know, everybody find out or realize that they've been wrong about this accusation on the guy. Now, again, I don't blame the girl because obviously something happened to her.
Oh yeah.
And she might have been drugged or whatever, so she maybe didn't know. But again, that's why you go to court, and that's why you have lawyers, and that's why you have forensic people, and that's why you go through.
And I also don't think you blame the Bills for releasing him either. I mean, they have to. When all this stuff's coming out, I feel like you have to. It's
Do you though?
I think so.
Because the Browns at the same time went and signed Deshaun Watson while more and more stuff was coming out. Now I get it. Deshaun Watson's a proven, star player, but that's the point of it too.
I don't know. My hands are starting to sweat talking about this. I feel like I'm going to say something like we can go next
Put
subject.
yourself on mute. Well, we do have a voicemail about this subject. So before we get into that, you guys keep calling the hotline. Season's coming up. You got more and more transfers coming in. Don't look now. South Florida Bulls racked up a bunch of transfers this week.
Sure
Look out. But call the hotline. Give us your take.
Did they all come from Colorado?
I don't think any of them did. TCU I saw was one of them. So there you go. National championship team. You got one player from there. But anyway, 615-900-4286. You guys call the hotline with your hottest takes. Jeff, if you want to cue those up, I know we got one take on Matt Araiza's story.
Yeah, we'll get right to it. Our boy Terry Johnson called in about that story.
Group of Five guys, Terry Johnson calling him back again this week. I don't know if y'all want to talk about this on the show. I understand if you don't play it, if it's too controversial or whatever. But I saw on a news report that Matt Araiza, the punter of the San Diego State, got drafted by the Bills last year. He apparently was accused of sexual assault, and now proof has come out a year later saying that the girl has lied. And that's just a really shitty thing, man. And, of course I have a daughter, and you always want to take, people seriously when things come up. But when it turns out it's false, man, you just got to say, one, you feel bad for the person that it was about, and you hope that they can get back on their feet and that, somebody will take a chance on them, whether it's in football or anything. Because in Group of Five football or anything, it's just not going to happen every time. So the fact that he was drafted as a punter is big, and he couldn't even play his rookie season. And maybe there just needs to be more repercussions on the people that accuse those things, because it happens in football all the time. And like I said, I have a daughter, and you always want to take the victim's, word for it. But, just hear it all the time in football where guys just lives are ruined just for, girlfriends that want to have a vendetta or, just somebody just being insensitive. Again, if you want to play this, I understand if you don't. But it just sucks that this happened to somebody in the group of five, or really just really anybody that's affected by it. Because it's my son that had this chance and this happened. I'd be furious. I'd be livid if this happened. God bless group of five. God bless group of five guys. Go Cases.
Appreciate it, Terry. Yeah, and again, I think it's just a really unfortunate situation, and I think especially when it comes to the media and organizations, they're the ones that can do a better job of slowing the pace down, being accurate, being the voice of reason in these type of situations, because they're difficult, and it's just so hard to know, especially very early on in these type of deals. But it's like, guys, media, I get it. You want the clicks, like, be accurate. Have some integrity about yourself, and the world would be a whole lot better off. And as far as the Bills go, I mean, I'm kind of, I think they could have slow played it a little bit too and explain. Just all you got to do is be upfront. Like, look, we don't have all the facts yet. We're not gonna cut this guy and release him. Like, we're gonna put him on, in this situation, like probation or whatever, until we get more information about this, or until the court hearing happens. Like, I think more people will understand that and respect that. But you just got these loudmouths in the media that just chirp. That's unfortunate.
I got two things, Jeff. One is a question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer. Do the Bills have like rights to sign him back, or is he just a free agent up for grabs right now?
I would assume he's probably a free agent if they released him.
I guess it's their call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second thing is, now I will say this, as men, as players, as athletes, whatever, you also have an obligation now. Now this case, it looks like he wasn't even there, but in most cases, you can't even put yourself in a position to be accused. And we know all the preseasons, every single year we got the talk from Coach Stock, we'd have a police officer or somebody come in. If you're, having an argument, leave. If you're at a party, leave. Don't even let it be an inkling that you had any part in anything like that. And so, that's now, unfortunately, this guy looks like he wasn't there and still got accused. But in most cases, it is a great, it's a, you were there, and maybe there was some kind of sexual act, and then it's just a debate over whether it was consensual or not. And that's where, you're going to take the victim's word for it 9 times out of 10. So that's the obligation of the player in this situation. Let's get to hopefully some more fun stuff. Jeff, do we have other voicemails?
Yeah, we got one more. Andy Borelli called in and needed some clarification on a couple things on a tweet that we had about ranking teams. So we'll get to him, and he gives a couple of examples of who he thought were the best group of 5 teams of all time.
I like it.
Hey guys, this is Andy Borelli again. I talked to y'all a couple weeks ago on about one of y'all shows, and who was the greatest. I think I can't really remember what it had to do with anything, but I was wondering something on Twitter or any of y'all social media accounts, when y'all asked who was the greatest group of 5 team, like one of y'all's most recent ones said, top 5 group of 5 teams of all time, who you got? Are y'all talking about the school overall or a team, like a certain season? Because I had Southern Miss, ECU, Marshall, Boise State, and Tulane as the overall programs. Seasons, I had 97 Southern Miss, 09 Boise State, 91 East Carolina, 22 Tulane, and 2012 Tulsa. Which one of those do y'all mean? And also, when y'all refer to group of 5, because I was wondering about this, because I put 97 Southern Miss, 09 East Carolina, and 91 East Carolina and 09 Boise State. Do y'all mean like in the college football playoff, the CFP era, the BCS era, or before that? Is there a certain timeline that y'all are assuming, or is there a certain timeline that y'all are asking for, or does it just like a school that has been historically a group of 5, or even like Houston and Cincinnati and UCF, the times that they were group of 5, TCU and they were group of 5, is there any certain limit that y'all put on them questions or not? Because I've been wondering about that, but that's all.
That's a good question, and I'm glad. I want to take this because I want to answer for at least for Swag Bear. When I think a group of 5, when I talk about it, on social media or on this podcast, what I'm referring to, and I just want to clear the air. And Sprouse and y'all may think differently of this, but whenever a team goes to the Power 5 or just leaves the group of 5, then pretty much every history or stat they had group of 5 wise is gone. So I look at the current teams that are in the group of 5. If they're in the Sun Belt, Mountain West, Conference USA, American, or the MAC, then I look at those teams. UCF, Cincinnati, all those guys that just left, don't care. All their wins and losses out. So when he was asking about the truest blue bloods, that's what we were talking about, right? That was the top blue blood. So we looked at it based off of most consistent teams that are always winning on a consistent basis. That's the tweet he's talking about, right? And we said we looked at the top teams. Am I wrong on that?
He's talking about a tweet. I tweeted exactly what he said. Who's the best group of 5? Top 5
currently?
of all time.
Of all time. Best team.
And I think he got it right. I'm just talking, 2022 Tulane or 09 Boise State or et cetera.
Why did you shut me up? I was over here just rambling for 2 or 3 minutes talking about blue bloods and talking about current teams. Is that what? Well, to answer the group of 5 question though, that's how I look at it. So once UCF is gone, like I'm not going to look at their stats or what they did back in 2010. They're no longer a group of 5 team to me.
Yeah, it's hard if you're talking about an all-time team, though. In my opinion, like you got to.
Really? So you count TCU and all those guys?
Yeah, those old TCU teams because they were Mountain
Virginia,
West at the time, or UCF. The teams, whatever that was, 2014, 2015.
But now.
But I wouldn't.
Look at Sam Houston and stuff. Now you look at those teams now.
Yeah, but if they won, like for instance, okay, so like
I would look at, but now Sam Houston's currently in the group of 5. I would look to see what they did back in like '97.
Yeah, but if App State won an FCS national championship in 2007 or 2008, I wouldn't consider that one of the best all-time group of 5 teams because they didn't play anybody in the group of 5. Like, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. It's
for the blue blood conversation. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought I guess if you look at the best group of 5 team ever, then I guess everything I just said was a waste of 3.5 minutes of breath. So that does make sense, I guess. So if you were to look at like the TCU Horned Frogs of like 2006, maybe they're pretty damn good.
I think 2008.
That was with the Red Rocket.
Boise were good.
Yeah, that was the old Red Rocket. Andy, is he still in the league?
I think he's a backup somewhere.
No idea.
Dude, this guy is making a killing. He's been in the league for 14 years. No, I'm not good with math, but he's been in the league for a long time.
Best position in the NFL is the backup quarterback. Baby.
Backup for a star quarterback.
Star. Yeah, I agree.
You ain't never gonna play, and you can sit there and hold the clipboard and be paid a pretty penny.
God, I'd be the best.
Yeah, so I guess we gave you like 3 different answers there to your question, but that's okay.
We don't know.
For the blue blood conversation, I'm with Grisham. Like, I'm not counting.
I swear,
UCF,
I thought that's what he's
Houston,
talking
whatever.
about.
But for a single year specific team, you got to count them because that one team was a group of 5 team at the time.
And to add to that, I think the Colt Brennan Hawaii year, although they got waxed in the Sugar Bowl,
smoked, man.
I think that's one of the best. My favorite group of 5 teams of all time.
They were fun, but you got to win.
I know.
You got to beat. If you get the New Year's Bowl against the Power 5, you got to beat them. Or you can't just get destroyed like they did. Anyway.
Personal.
Who is the top team?
Of all time?
Of all time.
Man, that Boise State team, when they beat Oklahoma.
But that could have...
that was just such a...
I don't know.
Magnitude of that
I think Boise was better
incredible.
years later in 2008, 2009. Boise... When the BCS... put Boise State against TCU in the New Year's Bowl, both of those teams were really, really good, and we know damn well why they made them play against each other that year. But I mean, I don't know. Cincinnati made the playoff. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That's true.
Tulane
I'm
a year
I'm
ago.
thinking about the UCF team that went and
They were
beat the
very
crap
good.
out of Auburn and the Sugar Bowl.
And they were good for multiple years,
the
too.
Chick-fil-A, but whatever it was, Chick-fil-A Bowl.
Question. Our boy Zachary Brander's in the YouTube chat. He goes, was the Big East, would that be considered Group of 5? Because Louisville was in it when they beat Florida in the Sugar Bowl.
That's way too complicated.
But the Big East, you look at the Big East, though, you go back. So I'm a South Florida guy. You go back, the Miami Hurricanes were in the Big East when they were winning national championships. So I don't think the Big East, I don't know. And then the Big East in basketball, I would probably consider that a power. I mean, that's a power conference, right? With UConn and all them. I don't know, Zach. Damn it.
I don't either. It's too much.
Well, it's all based
too
off
much. Too much
Whatever you want
moving
it to be.
parts.
Here's a question. Let me throw one more question. Are we done with voicemails, Jeff?
Yeah, that was the last one for this week.
What are we going to do? Is Army the only independent team left? Are we missing anybody there? Because BYU's out now.
UMass.
Didn't UMass go in Conference USA?
Hell, I don't know.
Not this year.
Not this year, but
I don't know about that.
UConn.
Jim Mora.
What's UConn doing?
They staying away. They're staying out there. Like they're staying.
Anyway,
That's
honestly not a bad strategy, though. If you think about it, with all the realignment,
just wait.
We're just gonna chill. We'll bide our time, build our program, play who we want to play, when we want to play them,
and then when the conferences start calling, have a good pitch.
Call me crazy, but is Notre Dame going to the ACC?
Well, I more meant Group of 5-ish. I was I was leading to, should we start considering Army, because we haven't, and if they're the only one left,
you gotta consider UConn.
Join a conference, Army.
Yeah, cowards.
So before we get into
all those guys,
UMass, UConn, maybe Army. Before we get into our main topic of the show, we got to talk about Prize Picks, NBA playoffs. I've been hitting it, and then I lost because I lost one over some bull over the weekend. But I think I had Tatum scoring 4.5 in the first 4 minutes or first 6 minutes, and he scored 4 and missed a free throw or something like that. But anyway, use our code GOFG. They'll match you up to $100 on your first time deposit. NBA playoffs and hockey playoffs are good. They do. Matter of fact, today's Tuesday. They have a Taco Tuesday, giving you a big discount on Anthony Davis total points tonight. So jump on that. I think they got him at 18.5, where I think he was at 25 or something like that. So jump on that. Prize Picks. Use our code GOFG. Position you. Okay. The idea behind this discussion, if you're a high school kid and you play a certain position and you want to go to the NFL, which school's putting them in the NFL? Who's producing the best players at this position? So tonight we're going to do offense. Started out at nice and easy one. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of debate here. Start at quarterback. I'm going to go to the quarterback first. Then I'm going to go over to Swaggy, see what he has to say. And then
we all know who Jeff's choosing.
We'll go to Tip for some reason and some rationale. Murph, tell us why Fresno State is QB.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
because they had the biggest bust in NFL.
God, I'm not even 2 words into my segment, and the guy just interrupts. It's amazing. It's honestly impressive.
Anyway, let's go.
All right. Well, first on my list, I'm going to go Trent Dilfer. Super Bowl champion, had a fantastic college career there, had all the numbers, and then you get the Super Bowl win on top of it. I think that's a great way to lead it off. Then you got the Carr brothers. David Carr, fantastic college career, terrible stint with the Texans, but as far as college numbers go, was at the top of Fresno State history. Then his younger brother, Derek Carr, comes in, breaks all of his records, and has a fantastic college career, gets drafted by my Oakland Raiders. Honestly, in my opinion, I thought he had a great career with the Raiders. He had stats to back it up. Never had a top 20, higher than a 20 defense in the NFL, but still going with the New Orleans Saints this year, so maybe he can revive his career a little bit, but broke records in college football as well. And then you go to this past year, Jay Kaner, another fantastic college career, had all the numbers you could possibly want. and then gets drafted by the New Orleans Saints this year. So interesting to see if he gets a couple years to sit in the NFL, how his NFL career goes. But I mean, I think with those four, and there was plenty others as well, smaller names that had great college careers, but those were kind of my top, five guys that went to Fresno State. I don't see how you can say that another school in the group of five is more of a quarterback you when you had that type of production at the college level and multiple guys in the NFL that had great careers.
I like it. I had them too as my number one. Jesse, who'd you have?
There's no doubt. Fresno State for sure is the number one. But I knew that he was going to say Fresno State, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit. And the way I evaluated every one of my position use, I just looked at it based off of just NFL draft picks from 2005 till today. And I was shocked. Western Kentucky, that's a good place to go to if you want to be a quarterback and have a chance to go to the league, man. I mean, not just Bailey Zappi from last year or 2 years ago. Brandon Doughty, second round 7, pick 2. Mike White. We had some guys there that were able to have careers in the NFL. And if you're looking to just kind of go to a school, they're not under the radar by any means, but me personally, who I thought I knew a pretty good amount about college football, I was kind of shocked to see Western Kentucky, little QBU for Group of 5.
Don't forget Austin Reed. He's going to have another year this year, and I think he's going to be another one that's going to be added to that list.
Yeah, exactly right. Again, didn't look at current players, look at past players. But,
that's a good one. No, Western's a really good one, especially right now. I mean, if I guess Fresno had Hainer, but you want to break some records, go to Western.
Yeah,
Tip, give us some, rational thinking here. No emotion, just give us.
Fresno State is without a doubt number one. To consistently over the last 15, 20 years, put this many good quarterbacks into the NFL and the great careers they've had in the NFL. Fresno State's without a doubt number one. You kind of look at this as like all-time greats, like at these positions, and then like current, because I really like Jesse's point of like currently, I think Western Kentucky, especially with the offense they've been running the last few years, is a great spot for quarterbacks, and I think that's going to help them with their current quarterback, and then also future quarterbacks. You're going to see a lot more of these guys out of Western Kentucky. As long as they keep this same wide open offense going, you're going to see a lot more of these guys getting drafted in the NFL. But then you kind of look at like all-time greats. You got to put Marshall in there, right?
Good
you
one.
had Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich. Both had great careers in college at Marshall, and then also had great careers in the NFL as well.
Well, and then I mean, just because we had to deal with the guy Rakeem Cato was there when we were playing them was a problem, dude. Because when the year we beat them on the last play of the game with Tavares catching that, weren't we up pretty good on him?
I forgot about that.
Like
guy.
super
Man,
late,
good.
and then that guy dropped like 2 bombs in a row, and
and
they came back, and then
that was a while.
Anyway,
game.
that's
pretty sure he's their passing yard leader for Marshall history.
I gotta. So speaking of all these guys, before we go, I saw a stat today from a tweet that I gotta bring up because in this transfer world, check this out. If you're a Group of 5 football player and you're a potential draft pick, you're one of these guys we're talking about. Here's a stat regarding transferring and getting to the NFL. So this is a transfer portal era. It's not a huge sample size, but a pretty good one. It's 2019 to 2022. So guys that started their career in the Group of 5 and played their final season in the Power 5, you had 8.8% of them got drafted. You had 40% of them go undrafted and get a camp invite, and then you had 50.7% no mini camp invite, not drafted. Guys that in their last season at the Group of 5 level stayed and were all conference. So keep in mind, this is probably the same caliber player. You're going to be an all-conference player, or you're going to get a, Power 5 offer, etc. So guys that stayed at the Group of 5 level, okay, all-conference players, 26.5% were drafted. Another 49.9% got a camp invite, and then 23% no minicamp invite. So guys that transferred, over half of them didn't even get an invite. Guys that stayed, only a quarter of them didn't get an invite. So a little stat for you there, you guys that are trying to be a position U kind of guy at your group of 5 school, and some Power 5 comes reaching out to you. Just think about that. If you can ball, man.
That's right. And Sprouse, real quick before we hop off the QBs, I did have 2 honorable mentions that one I spoke about earlier. I think Hawaii definitely deserves to be in there with Colt Brennan, Timmy Chang, and Michael Carter. And remember, Colt Brennan was a Heisman finalist. I don't know the last time, and somebody could correct me, that we had a group of 5 quarterback.
NIU.
Jordan Lynch.
That's an honorable mention for me just because of him, though, really.
Yeah, and then my other one was Southern Miss. Southern Miss and Brett Favre. You had Nick Mullins, who had a stint in the NFL, and Austin Davis as well.
Spring Park.
Around. I'm sorry, what was that?
Nick Mullins, Spring Park High School.
Where's that?
Next to Hoover High School. You heard of Hoover?
Yeah, wasn't that good head coach there at that school?
Scumbag. Don't ever mention good and Rush Probst in the same sentence ever again. All right. Let's move on here. Let's do running backs. This one could get interesting, I feel like. Running back, if you don't mind, Jeff, I know I sent you a clip.
Yeah.
You post that because I just want to let everybody know that first I called this team a potential blue blood, and then I had him as a running back and then as I was doing more.
I know you're talking about. God bless it. Yeah.
Well, I sent everybody the clip this morning. If you checked the text, you would have watched the clip.
No chance, but I chose this team as well.
The Memphis Tigers, running back going back to D'Angelo Williams. Now in today's era, you got Kenny Gainwell, you got Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard. I mean, you got three starters, right? Essentially in the NFL
Darrell
right now.
Henderson too.
Just like Darrell Henderson.
I didn't put him on my list, but yeah. So this was, I think, a year ago. Dan Patrick was talking about Memphis being running back Go ahead and play that for us there, Jeff.
By the way, is Memphis the new running back Have you looked at the number of running backs in the NFL recently from Memphis? Google that. You're going to find, I'm going to guess, 4 or 5 running backs, and you probably have one there now who's going to be in the NFL. Memphis might be running back Yes, McLevin.
Antonio Gibson, Washington didn't even make the rosters. He was a wide receiver. They had to move him over. And he's the starting running back for Washington.
I know. Yes, Paulie.
Yeah, I think you got at least 4. Darrell Henderson in the Rams, Tony Pollard, Antonio Gibson, Kenneth Gainwell of the Eagles.
Yeah.
Remember D'Angelo Williams a few years ago?
Kenneth Gainwell's good. They like him in Philly.
Yeah.
And I never heard of him coming in.
And Memphis probably has a really good running back this year. You'd never think Memphis, that's where you find great running back. You find probably undervalued running backs.
First of all, Dan Patrick is one of the greats. But, I mean, that's why I got Memphis. I mean, they were my number 1. Jess, you had them too, number 1? Tip, what'd you have?
I had Memphis number 1. I think that's a no-brainer. Did you guys hear that in that clip about, I think he was talking about Kenneth Gainwell, how I hadn't even heard of this guy but when he came into the league. That's why we're here, okay?
You're welcome,
we're here
Dan
to
Patrick.
talk about these guys and tell you guys about these players coming into the NFL while they're still in college.
I didn't know that.
Memphis 100% number 1.
I remember talking about Kenny Gainwell when he was at Memphis and talking about how good he was. That might have just been
about Antonio Gibson, though. That's pretty cool. He didn't even start running back at Memphis. Now he's starting running back at Washington. Is that what they just said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver.
That's crazy.
He catches the ball a ton out of the backfield, too.
Yeah.
Murph, who'd you have? RBU.
I did have Memphis as number 1.
4 for 4.
And then, but a close second I had was San Diego State.
That's a good one.
And if you look at who they've had, obviously Marshall Faulk, one of Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. And then recently you had Rashad Penny. You had Ronnie Hillman, who had a great stint with the Broncos, really good running back. And then a name y'all might not remember, but he had a great college career, was Donnell Pumphrey. That guy was an animal at San Diego State, had phenomenal stats while he was there. Not a great NFL career, but as far as college running backs goes, he was top.
Did anybody have they came top of mind was ECU. And I think I'm just thinking recency bias of Keaton Mitchell and then going back to Chris Johnson. I can't
I
had
had
the number 4 on my list.
Yeah. Who else did you have, Tip?
I have SMU.
SMU.
There. You had Eric Dickerson and Doak Walker. I mean, you're talking about two pro football and college football Hall of Fame guys.
That was back when SMU was the only team doing NIL deals.
That's true. I had ECU as an honorable mention for me, and then I also had FAU.
FAU.
Mention. You have
Nice.
Devin Singletary, and then Alfred Morris was a really good running back in the NFL for a few years as well. So I think they at least deserve a shout out.
That's a good one. See, any other honorable? Y'all have any other honorable mentions? That's all I really had. Wide receivers. This one was tough. Swag, I'd like to start with you on this round, if you don't mind. I feel like I might have somebody different than everybody, but maybe not. Jess, who'd you have? Wide receiver, you.
So yet again, this is based from 2005 and off draft picks. I was blown away to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 to 8 players from SMU that have been drafted in the NFL. Look at Emmanuel Sanders, Trey Quinn, Cortland Sutton, Rashee Rice. These guys, if I'm a young 17-year-old kid right now, and I'm not getting my big 5-star Power 5 offers, but I'm going to try to make a statement and make it to the league, SMU would be a no-brainer for me. No-brainer. So
Rashee Rice going to be Rookie of the Year this year probably too.
Yeah. Good shot.
I think he's got the highest odds, like Vegas odds, but that's a good one. Tip, what'd you have? You have SMU?
This is where it gets tough for me because, like, right now, like, currently, 2023 season, I think it's SMU. I like the offense they're running. It's very beneficial for wide receivers. So I would currently right now I would go with SMU. But you go back a few years. I mean, Marshall. I mean, you have the best group of 5 wide receiver of all time in Randy Moss. Troy Brown also went to Marshall. And then I also had Memphis on there. Going back to Memphis. Isaac Bruce. Anthony Miller. He's still playing, but he had a few good seasons with the Chicago Bears. And then watch out for this breakout season this year. Calvin Austin III up in Pittsburgh. Also, because of Devontae Adams, you got to put Fresno State on there too.
Yeah. I just want us all to remember back to me getting shit for calling Memphis a group of 5 blue blood. And now here they are as position U all across the offense.
Wow. Running back, yeah. I'm not sold on the receivers.
What about I got Western Michigan as kind of a sleeper on the wide receivers. Corey Davis, Greg Jennings, who had a great career with Green Bay, and then recently Sky Moore last year. Western Michigan, you don't typically think out of the MAC. You get a wide receiver type U, but I had Western Michigan. Murph, what'd you have?
I had pretty much all the ones that you guys mentioned. I did have SMU as number 1. I had Marshall as number 3. I had Fresno State, keeping it in the Mountain West, at number 2. You mentioned Devontae Adams, but you also had Jalen Moreno-Cropper, who had a fantastic last 2 seasons. Keyshawn Johnson, not the Keyshawn Johnson you're probably thinking of, but he was a phenomenal receiver at Fresno State, had 2 seasons over 1,000 yards receiving, got drafted in the 6th round, didn't have a great NFL career, but still getting drafted and having the college numbers. And then I don't know if you remember this name, but Bernard Berrien, a receiver for the Chicago Bears for quite some time, had a great career at Fresno State. And then honestly, he wasn't like a breakout receiver in the NFL, but solid tenured receiver for a long time in the NFL. So I had Fresno State at number 2 on my list.
It's not bad. So all those Hawaii quarterbacks you talked about, I know Devon Bess was one of the big receivers they had. Can you recall anybody else that they have? Because I'm thinking Western Kentucky, right? And I'm thinking this year they got Malachi Corley coming back. And I'm thinking that Zappy had, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But typically, if you're going to have a big-time quarterback, you're going to have a big-time receiver they're throwing to all the time. Yeah. So that was just a question I came up with, not to put you on the spot. Tight ends. And I think, and let me clarify too, we did not include any of the former Group of Five teams, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston. Cincinnati probably would have been the easy tight end you, just simply because of Kelsey and then Wiley getting drafted this past year. But we did not include them. I'll go back to you. Actually, let me start with Tip on this one. Who'd you have tight end you?
I have Western Kentucky at number 1. You have Jack Doyle and Tyler Higbee, both great careers at Western Kentucky. And Tyler Higbee's still playing with the Rams, I believe. And Jack Doyle just recently retired, but he had a great career with the Colts, 8 or 9 seasons with the Colts. So, and again, I talked about it earlier, Western Kentucky has a great offense right now that throws the ball a ton. So I think they're the clear-cut number 1 for tight ends right now.
Murph, who'd you have?
Yeah, I had Western Kentucky as well as my number 1. And this is where I think the Group of 5, it gets a little thin. There's definitely like a lot of schools with one like pretty solid tight end that ended up going to the NFL, having pretty decent careers, but none that really had multiple. So I had Western at the top. Colorado State had a couple decent names in there. San Diego State had one as well. I believe what's his name, Escobar for the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Gavin Escobar.
Yeah, Gavin Escobar. So this was hard. This was hard to find like a true, position you for that.
Also got to shout out Kent State because they had Antonio Gates.
But did he play football there? That was my question. I know he played basketball.
He had to have.
That's a good point. Now I don't know if he did.
I don't think he did because I was going to put Kent State in there, and unless I just misread it, all I found were basketball stats.
Was he good?
He was good at basketball, I'm pretty sure. But regardless, he went to Kent State University, so we gotta give him a shout out. I think you're right, Murph. I don't think he played football.
Started out at Eastern Michigan, then transfers to Kent State.
Yeah,
I think he was a basketball guy
for football in college.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is, especially recently, everybody's going 4 and 5 wide all the time. So there's less tight ends unless you have a guy like a Kelsey that, that can spread the defense out. San Diego State, I had SMU as an honorable mention just because draft picks. I think they've had 3 in the last couple of years. Jess, do you have anybody different on tight ends?
I didn't read the instructions correct. I did not have anybody for the tight ends. Thank you.
What instructions?
I put Cincinnati in there.
Oh,
it's okay.
Sprout, real quick, Sprout, to your point, kind of talking about the Group of Fives, when you get, to the Group of 5 level, you do see, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, there is not a lot of traditional tight ends that are being used in the Group of 5, and one of the thought processes behind that is you get naturally smaller guys, so you want to spread everything out, try and get guys in space, go east to west. So I guarantee you, if we really did a deep dive, there's probably some guys that size-wise line up as a tight end, but they were listed as receivers, and then they got a bunch of receiving stats that way. So be interested to
That's very true.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but
Jared Bamber.
Well, there ain't no doubt about that, my boy Bam.
That's a tight end.
Go ahead,
Shane Blizzard. Gene Deladon.
Well,
Hell, Middle Tennessee was tight end.
Well, hey, speaking of, you just had Isaiah
Gaithings
signed with the Jets, and he was a big guy that lined up wide. That probably could have played tight end.
6'5", 6'6",
we always had one real tall guy.
Yeah.
Isaiah Likely at Coastal, and they just brought in 3 or 4 tight end transfers.
I'm
Tip,
surprised
you might have
said
just
Coastal.
sparked something there. I think,
Coastal success is too recent to be,
but they're
I was
to
just
the
throwing
moon.
it out there.
No, they're getting there.
They're to the moon this year. I think
Isaiah Likely's doing great with the Ravens right now.
He's likely to keep doing it. So.
Nice.
That was good.
Good job. Good job.
Offensive line guys, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to Blue Bloods, I'm going to make Blue Bloods. When it comes to position you, I think I'll make Jeff a really happy man right here. There's no question, based off all the draft picks I've seen come from Boise State University, that play, and especially has so many first and second round guys. Boise State, I think for sure has to be where you want to go if you're in the group of 5 offensive line.
I had Boise State at my number 2.
They got guys still playing.
Yeah, you got guys. I mean, you got some all-time greats: Ryan
got
Clady,
all-time,
Nate Potter,
right,
Ezra Cleveland. Yeah,
Ryan Clady.
Now,
You know.
now I went, and the main reason I went with this, I went Central Michigan, and
I
that's
don't blame you.
mainly because Eric Fisher went number 1 overall.
Yeah.
So that's and they
Also Joe Staley.
Joe Staley's a Hall of Famer. They had Bernard Raymond go in the 2nd or 3rd round last year. They had Luke Godecki go last year in the draft. So they get them drafted early now.
Let me just say this too. I agree with you, West Michigan, but my
Central.
Boise State, it wasn't just O-line university. I labeled mine specifically. Mine is tackle university, Boise State. So, Tip, who you got?
I had Central Michigan.
For
I think it's-
clarifying.
Yeah.
So who'd you have at guard you? I didn't do a list for guards.
I did Middle Tennessee State. They had Josh
Jesse
Walker,
Grisham
Jesse
and Josh
Grisham,
Walker.
Jadarius Hamlin. We've had Colin Boss, Brandon McElroy. I mean, the list does not stop.
Anyway, Tip, go ahead. You had Central Michigan?
I did, yes. I had Central Michigan number 1, and I was actually going to ask you about this, or ask the 2 offensive linemen.
Okay.
You see, you have teams like Navy and Air Force that run the ball a ton. Did you guys notice anybody from either of those 2 schools?
Well, typically
you're
you're going to be undersized at one of those, and that's why they run the triple option. What they run now. That being said, Air Force recently has gotten bigger, and I think they got a guy right now in either Jets camp or Eagles, somebody up Northeast camp. And when I was talking to my boy Jason Cons, who by the way got married on Saturday,
Yeah.
congratulations,
Conzi.
Your lovely wife Casey. But Cons told me that a couple years ago, they just all of a sudden started recruiting like kids from Iowa, like left and right. Like the year that I was there, you had a bunch of Florida guys. It's usually a mistake trying to get a bunch of Florida guys to go to a strict professional place like that. Huge risk. Then they started going Iowa, and they've gotten a lot bigger. I also think that some of the non-football standards have laxed a little bit as far as what they're allowed to get. But anyway, they got some size over there now. But typically, you're running triple option anyway, which doesn't really translate too well to the NFL. Anyway, but if you just want to go, if you're not trying to go to the league and you just want to go and you're like, you just want to freaking run block all damn day,
I'm
go,
gonna say,
man.
I'm gonna say, Cons, and your guys are gonna see this, and Jeff Benson, whoever else will say this. I think Air Force, Navy, Army, you probably have the hardest working, most physical, grittiest, dirtiest offensive linemen that D lines definitely don't want to go against. But I think there's no pass protecting. Like you're not getting your
100%.
You're not getting your overall offensive lineman. You know what I'm trying to say?
100%.
You're getting a freaking nose grader. That's what you're getting. Not your guy that's going to be good with his hands, good with his feet, good with his. They might be, but they're not pass blocking at all. The only time they pass block when it's a play action where they're already cutting guys. If you're good at cutting
anyway.
guys and you're good at freaking pancaking guys, then you go to Navy. If you want to be finesse and you want to matrix a guy and stuff, you're going to be like me. You're like me.
Wow.
You do some of this, you turn around and say, "Run, Jeff." One of those deals.
Look out. No, that's very accurate. We got a little off track there. Jeff, who'd you have? Did we already go to you on this?
No, but I mean, you guys already covered it. I had Central Michigan, not Western Michigan, as my number 1, and then Boise State was kind of my number 2. And same thing, kind of similar to the tight end. You see a handful, 1 or 2 guys from a school, and then you'd kind of not see a guy get drafted when you look up in the years of the draft. But I would say those 2 are the 2 for me that stand out the most. Fresno State had a couple guys, San Jose State had a couple guys, but nothing where you had, like the Hall of Famer here or top 1 or 2 draft pick here, and then a couple other guys to fill in. So,
and before we get two sternly worded emails, let me just say, as of recently, Louisiana has put some good ones in the NFL. They got Robert Hunt down there in the Dolphins.
Hell yeah.
Listen, Troy,
yeah.
Zach, don't call in. Troy, especially Jake Andrews getting drafted this year. But yeah, I mean, funny enough, I'm looking at all of our. We didn't have a whole lot of Sunbelt teams in any of these, did we?
No,
Sunbelt's where
we
the
will
fans
on the
are.
defense. We will on the
one
defense.
One thing I did notice with the Sun Belt,
Exactly right. Good call.
One thing I did notice was the Sun Belt was when a lot of the teams originally left, the teams that moved in were teams that didn't have a long stint at that level. So it's hard. You can't really go back a long ways on an App State. James Madison, of course, who just came up last year. Like, you can't really look at there's not a lot of history to look at.
Yeah.
So.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but I had for RBU, I had an honorable mention, Georgia Southern. I had Jarrett McKinnon and Matt Burita.
Since just real quick, it's 9:01, Jess. I know you got to watch. What's tonight?
It's the finale. Real Housewives of New Jersey. At me, bro. I don't care.
I know, especially because it's Jersey. I know that y'all are really into it. I think I'm not like saying this.
We get a bottle of wine. We go down there and we watch it. We laugh and then we go to bed. And then tomorrow is Vanderpump Rules. Dude, I know that people watched it. And I was like, oh, Vanderpump, that's a good one.
So what's your Thursday show then?
Nothing.
Jersey Shore. Not anymore.
No, I just have Monday through Wednesday. We got
What's
Summer
Monday?
House Monday. Summer House.
Summer House. What's that?
You ever watch Summer House? It's kind of like Vanderpump. It's people our age, but they go to a house up in oh gosh, is it what's the rich area above New York, the lakes
Hamptons.
up there? Yeah, the Hamptons. They have a house in the Hamptons to go every weekend, and a lot of drama. I live for the drama, boys.
Do y'all back to Real Housewives? When y'all watch it, especially does Michaela? Does she know people like that? I'm not saying like she knows people on there, but she's probably like, oh my god, that's just like my mom's friend, whoever.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
You got any tracksuits on there?
When I watch the show, I look at Michaela like that's what you said to me last night. You
better censor yourself.
I know.
Before we go, because we're not going to probably do this. Punter and kicker, Georgia Southern.
Thank you. No, that's a good one. You got Memphis too.
Memphis.
Steven Gostkowski, Jake Elliott. So I have now deemed offensive U is the Memphis Tigers. So congratulations to the Memphis Tigers. You are offensive U.
Can't be offensive U without being a blue blood. Nice touch, Jeff. Good work on that.
Jasmine wanted to press that button for 2 years.
So long.
He's been waiting for somebody to say something good. Yeah, Georgia Southern, Young Hoku, Tyler Bass, and now our boy Anthony Beck is up in Minnesota at camp right now, punting. So
for him.
That's all we got for you guys tonight. We're going to let Jess go watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Before we go, you guys make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream your podcast. Give us a 5-star review, rating, tell your family and friends, subscribe, or go to group-of-5guys.com and get you some swag. That's all we got for you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We don't have some interviews coming up next week. Yeah.